Welcome. I am here with the fabulous Claudia from Blossoms and Berries down in Lismore. Claudia is a past student for many years of Kay's Flower School. Claudia, you are so welcome. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you for having me, Deirdre. Really appreciate it.
Oh, we're delighted to have you here. Tell me, how long is it since you were up with us training? Or well, you trained online with us, so you didn't even come to the school.
I did. Yeah, I trained with you guys during the pandemic. So I'm now, I think it was about 3 years ago at this point. It feels like a lifetime ago.
It does feel like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell me, how did you get into flowers? What brought you to flowers in the first place?
Yeah. Well, interesting. You should ask. I have always been in people-facing jobs my entire life, and always worked with people and enjoyed the interaction with people. And then, kind of the last 7 years, I was in a very fast-paced, high-demanding corporate job, and I burned out. I completely burned out. Actually, burned out twice. And the pandemic hit, and I knew I was due to go back. Now, mind you, working from home, but I was due to go back into my job, and I had the opportunity to really kind of stop and think, like so many of us in the pandemic, and really see, okay, do I really want to do this for the next, how many years? Is this really something I want to do? And the answer was very clear. It was no. And then I said, well, what do I want to do? And I kept on coming back to working with flowers, because I've always grown up, my mother was very fond of flowers and being in the garden and spending time in the garden. And that was always a big thing for me. And I always find it very kind of peaceful and kind of almost like sanctuary for me working with flowers.
Yeah.
And then a really funny story. I hope you don't mind me telling.
No, work away.
I was doing my research online, and I found videos of you and Jeanette, and kind of, talking about the flower school. And I kept on coming back to you. I was like, is this something I want to do? And it was a very daunting step for me, because, like I'm now in my 40s, and it was something completely new. And I was talking to my husband about this, and we went to Austria, because I'm from Austria originally, over Christmas. And I was telling my family over lunch someday, they were asking what my plans were. And I told them that I was considering signing up for this online course. And my husband said, well, it's too late now. And I was like, what do you mean? And I could feel the shock, and the disappointment that I missed this opportunity. And he said, yeah, the deadline's gone. You can't sign up anymore. And it really hit me hard. And he turned around to me and said, I was only messing, but I had to test you. I had to see whether your heart was really in it or not. And that's when I knew it was the right thing to do.
That's
very bold.
Absolutely. But yeah, gosh, that's one way to shock you into it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you done all 4 modules. And when did you decide to open up the shop then? So Blossoms and Berries, how did that come about?
So I did all the 4 modules, and it was really important for me to get the work experience. I knew I wanted to be my own boss. I knew I wanted to have my own business, but I really wanted to get the experience, first. Because it takes time, you need to have the practice. You've done all the theory, and you've done the fabulous, practicing your bouquets and all the arrangements at home, but it's different when you're on your own and you open the doors.
Absolutely.
So it was really tough for me to find work experience at the beginning, because there were, where I live, the local shops, there was high competition, and then there was the pandemic. Not many florists were open. They were only delivering. And then I was really lucky that actually a previous graduate of Kay's Flower School had an opening, and they're Enchanted Flowers in Macroom. Now, it was a 1.5 hour drive for me to get there each way, but it was worth it. It really was. And it was an amazing florist. I learned so much. So I think being a florist, you continue learning every day, and you always find out new ways to be better, to improve techniques that you do. And Enchanted Flowers is an extremely busy florist, and they're doing really well.
Katrina is amazing. Absolutely amazing florist.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Lots of wedding work. So really got my hands, stuck in there. She does amazing hotel work as well. So I had the chance to do my experience there and learned so much, really fantastic. And then I had my eye set on opening a shop in Lismore, which is about 20 minutes from my house where I live. It was the right area for me, the right clientele. I've done a lot of research on kind of, opening in a location that would be suitable for me. And it was the right catchment area as well for me. And I had my eyes set out, and there wasn't an awful lot of commercial property going at the time. And my husband actually found, again, my husband is great that way. he found on one of the local Facebook groups, somebody had advertised that there was premises available to rent. And I jumped on it. I think it was 8:30 in the morning. The poor woman, I rang her and was like, hello, is that still available? And I was the first one, and there was a lot of interest there, but she was very fair. She said, first come, first go. So I looked at it, and I knew I wanted it, and I was very keen. So, but it was a lot sooner than I had anticipated. I wanted to stay with Enchanted Flowers for another good while before I took the plunge into the deep end. But I did. It was very nervous. And looking back, probably it would take more time, but it was the best decision ever. So so that was October 2021 that I opened my doors. And
amazing. Well done.
Yeah.
And when you did start, so when you went into the shop and you started initially, what was your biggest challenge? Like, what do you think, and how did you overcome that challenge? Like, what was the hardest thing for you?
Yeah. So I had set out with a clear vision of what I wanted to do. So I wanted to be a sustainable florist. That was really, really important to me. And I wanted to work very closely with Irish flower farmers, foliage growers. I wanted to work and support local and kind of also bring a kind of on the gift range, because I wanted to offer more than just flowers, and I wanted to support Irish and bring all of that in. So I think one big challenge definitely for me was looking at the sundries and getting the right material in, but at the right price. Because when you're starting off, you have to turn every cent and make sure you're not, you're minimizing your expenses. And so that was a big challenge, because you feel like, where do I start? And like, you have all those resources from Case Flower School, which is great and really helps you along. But, it feels like it's the first 3 books of a whole library you have to go through, And so that's really what it was. Like, what other wholesalers are there? How far away are they from me? How much do they charge? Comparing them. So the whole element of combining the cash flow that is available to you at the time, and kind of trying to, because this was all new to me. I'd never owned a business before. I've managed my money at home for the household, but never for a business. And that's a completely different cup of tea. And kind of arranging, kind of balancing that, and still staying true to your vision. That was a big challenge. But, you need to be confident, and you need to, I suppose, follow that through, and kind of, like, I still review it once a year. I kind of go back and say, okay, well, is there a new wholesaler that offers items? Is there, not just flowers, any sundries, anything at all? And I kind of look at it, review it on a regular basis. And actually, I was able to cut my costs in year 2 by half compared to year 1, which is huge. But that's the only way I think you can continue going as a business. So that definitely was one thing. So the cash flow element and aligning that with my sustainability vision. And then the second element then was balancing, I suppose, being a business owner is balancing your heart that you put into the business because you want it to succeed, and kind of putting yourself out there, getting new business customers in, and, getting a pie from the funeral business, which I find still very, very hard and challenging. And balancing then also time for your family, because that was a huge chunk for me. I've got a 7-year-old daughter now, and she's great. She loved when I was at home, and especially during the pandemic, and she loved helping me whenever I got a case, flower delivery, and she was all excited. but then, you know, I go away and I, as you know, as a business owner, especially when you're starting out, you dedicate a lot of your time to your business. And so trying to find that balance and make it work. And there will be lots of florists out there who will say, yeah, my kid grew up in the shop with me, because they spend a lot of time with you and they help you and they like it. And that's okay. But being okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, you're so right. And I know, like, we grew up in the shop with my mum, and like we had a desk in the back of the shop that we did our homework in, you know, but we'd be called out, oh, come out and help me with this, or come out and help me with that. And it was just life. That was just how we grew up. There was, we didn't see any difference in that to anybody else, you know? But I love what you said about, like, your second year that you cut your costs, because you had the time to research. And that is so key to any business, isn't it? Is looking at the best way to make profit is your costs.
Yeah. And I think you need to look at the details. Something as simple as, you know, your till rolls, you know, where do you get the cheapest ones, down to, so again, I'm a sustainable florist, so I don't use any plastics at all. So trying to find a way where you can keep your flowers in water, but not spending an arm and a leg, and then having wrapping that is, you know, kind of plastic free, but still looks fancy and classy and kind of elegant, because that's very much the way I want to present my brand, kind of aligning with kind of something very high level, and just really trying to minimize the costs and not being afraid to, I mean, you know, we've all gone to, I don't know, so for example, when I have cards, you know, the greeting cards that you give in the bouquets, I didn't want to have the plastic holders or anything like that. So I kind of went down, okay, well, the alternative then is a wooden stick, but then do you order them through your wholesaler, or do you literally just go into the likes of Mr. Price and get, you know, the barbecue sticks, and just get creative and think outside the box, and even getting a lot of inspiration from any of your videos that you can see online, you know, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, or follow other kind of floral designers on Instagram, see what they're doing, getting ideas. Could I replicate that, but at a low cost? And so it literally, everything into the detail, you need to look at and look at and try and think outside the box, 100%.
So the sustainability, and this is what really, like, I love about your business. Like, you really have embraced it. You're not, how do I say this politically correct? You're not knocking people that are not being sustainable. Like, as we say, doing one thing and using a glass cup in work instead of a paper cup is being sustainable. Or, as you say, using the wooden skewers instead of the plastic. We don't have to go completely sustainable.
No.
Your business has to be sustainable, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Yeah. As well as what you're producing. Yeah. So tell me, what was your biggest challenge within the sustainability element of your products? Yeah. For you as a business?
Okay. So when I knew I wanted to be sustainable. It's something that was close to my heart. And at the very beginning, I sat down and I said, well, in which ways can I be sustainable? And it's not just, I didn't just want to go and say, right, I'm buying all my greenery from Irish foliage farmers. And then it came to the flowers, but that's very seasonable, you know. So obviously, so I was looking at, again, the resources on Case Flower School, and you guys had the Irish flower farmers. So I was trying to see who was close to me, trying to work with them. And then I realized there is actually a lot more people out there who grow flowers. They mightn't be on that network, but people there know of them. And so trying to make contacts, and it's a lot of it is networking as well, and trying to find flower farmers who are close to you, who can, and you have to have more than one supplier, because in Ireland, they're just, you know, they don't grow to that extent that we would need them to. And it's a shame, because we have amazing climate, we have amazing quality. I remember still looking back, and I know I'm trailing off for a little bit, but I remember looking back when I got my first flower delivery from an Irish flower farmer, and seeing the Astrantia and going like, oh my God, they're so huge, you know, and so beautiful and so strong. And I just love it. Anyway, so it wasn't just the kind of material that I was using. I was looking then at what's the alternative to cellophane, and cellophane cellophane itself is sustainable, but if you buy the regular cellophane, it's cheap enough to buy, but that's not the sustainable version. It's the biodegradable one, the one that's really eco-friendly. That is a lot more expensive. So that wasn't a cost I was willing to carry. So I had to look then and trying to make your aqua packs and keeping the flowers in water. So there was a lot of trial and error. Again, I didn't want to kind of go through a massive expense. So I have come up with this idea of using oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's they're rice-based basically, and they're biodegradable. The cups.
Okay.
Oh my God, what are they called, Deirdre? You probably have to cut this out later on. What are they called? Oh my God.
It'll come back to you. It'll come
back to me. And basically, I fill these with water, and they're biodegradable. And so the flowers stay fresh, they stay in water. And I wrap them. They're beautiful paper wrappings, and I put tissue paper on it. So the whole presentation was trying to be, eco-friendly. So that was one element. But then another challenge then was as well all the waste that I had, because obviously floristry is quite a plastic heavy industry. So all the flowers I receive, if I have to import them, I had a lot of plastic. So bringing that to the recycling center. I then started to liaise. I had a lot of green cuttings. I then, again, looking at the cost, I could bring it to the recycling center, but I would be paying a lot for green waste. So I was liaising then. For a while, I was working on a farmer's market with my stand, with Blossom and Berry stand, selling products there. And there was a couple that actually grew vegetables and herbs. And so what they were doing is they actually had to buy in compost to sustain their business. And I said, well, hello, I have loads of it if you want. So we actually we came to an agreement that they are happy to take my green waste that helps them compost. They're turning it into compost themselves. So at the moment I have 0 going to landfill. There is plastic going to recycling, but the rest is going to That's
amazing.
There's nothing
well
going
done.
to landfill. And so small bits and pieces like that. I have a vase recycling program where customers can come in and bring in their own vases. I can decorate them. They get store credit if they bring them back. If they buy a vase from me and then I decorate them. I do jam jar arrangements. So again, people bring me their jam jars. It's basically free material for me to use, and I can sell them on again. So just small little flower arrangements. I put a little bit of ribbon on the top or anything like that. So it's just, I suppose the challenge is to challenge yourself. Don't accept things as they are, and to look at it and say, well, what else can I do with this? Don't accept that, everything has to be, like buckets. All of our buckets are plastic, but we could also use other containers to keep the flowers
but they're
in water.
used over and over and over again. Like our buckets we have in the school are 35 years old. Like
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. And interesting enough, when I opened up, there was a florist who used to be in Lismore. She still lives in Lismore, and I was very lucky to have made the contact with her. And she said, I still have all of these materials. I don't want to throw them out. Do you have use for them? And I said, yes. And it was a gift. It was an absolute gift for me to be able to reuse that and therefore reduce any waste that is coming. So 100%. And
that's great. Do you know what? There's great ideas and great tips there for anyone that's listening to this that does want to go a little bit more sustainable. We don't have to, every little step helps is really what I believe is like, just do one thing every month, one thing different or one thing extra. If it can really make the difference. Well done. Absolutely.
Thank you.
What's your favorite part of the business? Like, what's the favorite part of flowers? Like, is it weddings? Is it retail? Is it funeral work? What's your favorite part?
So it's when you have those special moments. I don't think I can pin it down to a particular area. For me, it's the emotional connection that happens with the customer. So for me, it's the emotional connection. So for example, I had a customer who one of my favorite brides actually, and she said, look, I just wanted to see, do you do the, you know, the button squares rather than the standard buttonholes? She's not engaged yet, but she's hoping and she doesn't know, and blah blah blah. And I was like, yes I do. And she was just inquiring, and you know, literally I think it was 2 or 3 months later after Christmas, she says, hey, Claudia, I got engaged. And, you know, so that's an example. Another example was a customer who came in and she said she just wanted something really small. She has a vase at home, but she had lost a child at this point 30 years ago, but she wanted to mark the day. And, you know, it's when you can do something special for someone and when you know you make their day just a little bit brighter, that's what I love about my job, you know, and that's when it's something special. Or even a guy that came in and he was extremely nervous and he said, this is my first date, I haven't gone on a date in 10 years, you know, and he came back the next day and said it went really well, you know. So it's things like that that make it worthwhile for me, that I feel like I'm, you know, I'm able to make the day a bit brighter for them. And that's what
and you know, I talked about this last week with another florist that I was talking to, and we were saying flowers bring smiles no matter what the occasion, even if it's for, like, as you say, that lady who had lost a child, or somebody that their funeral flowers, everyone's nearly happy to get them, you know, even if they are for a really sad occasion. And I actually think within the industry, we're very privileged to be able to do that for so many people with what we do as our business, you know. And it's funny because, like, I have asked so many people this same question, and like, what is their favorite part? And so many of our florists have said exactly the same thing. It's about people, and it's about meeting the people and seeing the joy that you bring to these people, that when you bring flowers, you know, it's just amazing. You talked there about, you know, within the shop that you promote an Irish stock, and tell me a little bit more about, you know, what you bring into the shop. So obviously you are gift as well as flowers, I take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my business actually has 3 sides in total. So I have the whole flower side, then I have workshops that I do on a quarterly basis, and then I have a gift range. And so I started off with very, very basic, because again, my cash flow at the beginning was almost non-existent, to be honest. You know, I had no savings, so I was like, but I still wanted to bring people in. So the first I made a call out trying to see, was there anybody interested in working with me, new business, etc. And I was able to bring in somebody who was producing candles, and it worked on a commission basis, which was great. So that kind of started that element off. So I had somebody, but she was about an hour drive away. Now she's no longer in business at this point, but it opened the door for me to Irish producers. I now at the moment have 2 fabulous home fragrance businesses in my business. So they are local. One is directly from Lismore and one is from Ballysaggart, which is literally 5 minutes up the road. And so they make fabulous soy candles, beautiful fragrances. They do wax melts as well, room sprays, reed diffusers, that kind of thing. So really beautiful stuff. Then I brought in cards, because everybody going to a florist is looking for a card usually as well. And again, so one is a local artist. She's actually based in Lismore. She makes prints of her paintings, which is great. Then I have somebody from Stratbally, County Waterford. So again, local artists, people who bring in their own kind of creativity and just offer something different with different styles. Then I have, I brought in pottery, somebody making, again, from the local farmers market that I made a connection with, is somebody making jewelry, fabulous stuff. Great for Valentine's, you know, always great for birthdays, because they're not expensive. They start at an attractive budget, but are something nice and beautiful. I have somebody who makes beautiful wicker baskets. They go really, really well. And he also does kind of almost like garden decorational pieces, like a little bumblebee out of wicker, and, you know, beautiful stuff. And then lately I have, as the business grew, I have a little bit more cash flow now at the moment, and I'm able to say, okay, let's really expand this, because you'd be surprised that actually offering a gift range is quite a big element to having I find having a florist business, because people do like to get more than just flowers.
An
and flowers
add-on.
are the main thing, but they always spend money on an add-on, and it's definitely something. So I have partnered now with the handmade soap company. So they're having fabulous a gift range as well, from hand creams to soaps to anything. I have partnered with the Ulster Weavers. So they are fabulous. They're beautiful, beautiful range of aprons to tea cozies, you name it, oven gloves.
So you're really championing Irish businesses and more local Irish business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
and then sorry, the last big one that I have are the McNutt of Donegal. I love them. They're fabulous. They're really, and don't be afraid to bring in big names as well. I think, if you have a partner, and if they're aligned with your ethos as well. That was important, that anybody that came in, I really wanted them to align with my ethos and my vision of sustainability, and they're all great names, and they take care of that as well. And it aligned with the quality that I wanted to show as well. And I love, like, this is all stuff I would love to have in my own home. So I feel like if I like it, and not trying to.
No, that's true. But like, people buy from you because of what you do. So if you like it, well, obviously they will too.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I'm actually shocked. I didn't realize how much you actually also sold on top. And I had seen your social media posts where you do go around with your arm. We're going to talk about your social media now, but like where you do go around the shop showing off the produce that you have for sale. But the fact that you really have embraced all these local businesses and given them an outlet for it to be able to sell their products is like, that's so supportive and so amazing for them, because a lot of those small businesses find it very hard to get into shops or some sort of outlets. And a lot of them, like you and like others, they don't have the cash flow for it to be able to have big points of sale and stuff like that. So it's really good. I'm delighted to hear that. So tell me about your, like, and I do watch you, and you're getting better even on your social media. You're getting more confident about getting out there and getting in front of the camera. And I know we spoke about this before we came on camera, about being on your own in the shop. And it is very difficult when you're on your own to pick up the camera and start to record or start to, video around the shop or start to talk to the camera when you're on your own. So fair play to you. Well done. You're doing a great job at it. But how much does social media and your digital marketing, how much does that impact your business? Like
a lot.
Yeah.
Massive. So I was really grateful for the sessions that I had with Case Flower School on social media, because I gave me a really first glimpse at how important this actually is. I didn't have a website until very recently. And so a lot of my business came from social media, and it really brought a lot of revenue my way. And it's, even if it's just about getting your name out there, raising awareness that you're here, because and kind of what you do, really kind of makes people think of you and go like, oh well, look, I why don't I pop down to Blossom and Berry?
It's reminding people that you're still there, because people forget. And it's very easy for somebody just to go online and order and not realize, oh Jesus, that's not the shop that's down in the town. Where I think if you're keeping that presence out there all the time, flowers is not something people buy every week like bread. It's sort of something they buy for an occasion. So they have to be reminded, oh, she's there and I can go down to her, or I can order them online.
So that there's not just that element where you remind them that you're here, and if a birthday is coming up, they go like, oh, I've seen Blossom and Berry there recently, I can go and buy my flowers there, I like their style. It could also be that they see something on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, and they go like, oh, that's lovely, I'd like to have that now as well. Oh, I didn't know Blossom and Berry offers that too. So there's sometimes also the educational bit there, where it's something that they haven't thought of. Like, it's funny that you mentioned this video where I am very camera shy when it comes to my social media. I don't know, I just have something that I don't know why, I'm not very fond of showing my face. Every now and again I do, but and I know how important it really is, and especially very interesting example. I had made this walk around my shop, and I knew it was going to be a quiet day, because the last thing you want is go live and then you've got a customer coming in, so like, oh yeah, just a moment. But so it was, I knew with heavy rains there was nobody going to be out and about. So I did a live video, and I went around the shop and showed all of the items that I had in stock, and it was great because it was all new. But so, like, amazing. The next day I had 5 or 6 people coming in, and they all said, I saw your live yesterday, I saw your post, and they all bought items that I had advertised the day before. And that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So that alone brought huge revenue literally the next day into me. So that's a big thing. And that's something that they mightn't have thought of otherwise. And they were all not just flowers, they were literally from the gift range, you know. So that's amazing. And I think it's something, and I do sit down and I put a lot of effort into looking at what are the right times for me to post on. And the main channels, Instagram is my main channel, Facebook is my secondary channel. I also have TikTok, LinkedIn, and
we will
TikTok,
have all
LinkedIn,
these links
Pinterest
posted here, so that anyone wants to go over and follow Claudia and Blossoms and Berries, check out the description. We'll have all her links in there.
Yeah. Thank you. But I have to say, it's something that I really had to go in and look at. When are the best times to post in Ireland? And there isn't one right answer. There isn't. There's always different times for different things. And it's not just what time of the day you post. You also have to think of, well, you know, when will my bride-to-be look at her Instagram page or look at her Pinterest ideas to get inspiration? Or, you know, like things like that. You know, how can I best connect with somebody who runs a hotel, you know, or who is responsible for getting flowers in? And so you need to look at the day of the week, you know, to look at the time of the day, the content that you're posting, and that is huge. And I did get a lot of inquiries initially through Facebook Messenger, through WhatsApp, Instagram messages, you know, making bookings, ordering flowers, booking workshops, you name it. And it still is, even though I have my website. I've launched my website. It's not quite there yet. It is functional and it's working. I'd still like it to be better, so we're getting there. But at least it's out there, and it's really important for me to have it.
I think about a website, it's like your first house. And there's always something to be done. There's always, and you do something to one and the rest of it looks a bit crap. And you're like, okay, I need to work on that bit now. It's exactly like a house. You paint one room and every other room looks awful. And I find that with the website it's exactly the same, you know, and it is a working, and it's, and a bit like your house, it's never finished. It's constantly
a work in progress.
Updating it. It's constantly a work in progress.
Absolutely.
The workshops, tell me about the workshops. So, and I know all your workshops, you do sustainable workshops as well.
Yes.
How often do you run these?
So I started off small. I started with a workshop in Lismore on just one day, just to kind of test the water. And I was very nervous. Now, not about hosting a workshop. I have spoken in front of people before, you know, that has never been presented. I've kind of done workshops before, drop-in clinics and stuff like that. So that never was an issue for me. But because I was teaching now something that my heart was so invested in, and so, you know, that's my business, that was something that made me a little bit nervous. And like, do I have the right amount of stems? Will I have, you know, like, you know, you have enough, but you always
we still be the same. We're still the same.
And then you have everything is like, oh my God, I left the scissors in this shop, you know, like simple things, you know. But so I started off with one workshop, just one day in the town that my shop is in Lismore, and it was a huge success. And that really made me think, wow, okay, I have to do more of these. And so I held another one the next month and another one the next month. And by the third month, the numbers were swindling. And I was like, I think I'm doing them too frequently, you know. So again, it was a lot of trial and error here. Then for about a year and a half, I ran quarterly workshops in Lismore, but for 2 days or 3 days even, 3 days. And so that worked really well, and they all booked out, and that was fantastic. And I had created So I had kind of waivers that everybody signed, even though you have insurance, you just want to cover your tracks. And I had at the bottom, if you want to subscribe to my email list, give me your email address. And that way, again, I was able to send out quarterly newsletters and inform them about upcoming workshops. So it was all a snowball effect, really. And then it was last Christmas, I think it was autumn time. Yeah, it was last October, where I thought, well, look, these workshops are doing great. Why not go further? And so for Christmas, last Christmas, I hosted my first workshop in Dungarvan as well as in Youghal. So I kind of branched out to the two bigger cities close to Lismore. And again, they were fully booked. They were fantastic. We did a lovely Christmas wreath. And they kind of did it literally from scratch, the foliage, the decoration, everything. It was a 2-hour workshop, and I talk about the importance of sustainability, all the materials provided. So there was no plastic decorations in it. It was all natural, dried oranges, the pine cones, the cinnamon sticks, you name it. It was all natural, and it was beautiful. And then again, you notice trends. Like the spring workshop is never busy because people have spent money on Christmas, and then they have spent money on Valentine's, and then there's Mother's Day coming. So, it's kind of, spring is always slow for us. You have the 2 big days, but when it comes to workshops, it's never a big runner. But then summer, autumn, and Christmas are massive. They're huge. Yeah. And so, so kind of that's what I do. And I do anything from wreaths, dried flower wreaths, to baskets with floral foam, biodegradable floral foam, or moss, or straw, or like anything really. And it's seasonal. And we've done a table centerpiece once for Christmas. That was 2 years ago, with candles and different pieces. And it's always something new. And I try to mix it up to make sure I have a lot of repeat customers attending the workshops, so to make sure the participants don't get bored. And
super, that's excellent. So tell me, finishing off, tell me, where are you going to be in 5 years' time? What is your future plans?
You know what? It's horrible, but in this economic situation, I don't plan 5 years ahead, Deirdre. I hate to say it. I really don't. 3 years is probably as far as I go. I do plan ahead, but not that far, because I just feel, I started in the pandemic and I was like, sure, what's the worst that could happen? And now it can only get better from here. And now I see people are looking at their money even more than they did before. So, it's adapting to the market, definitely.
It is adapting.
Very much adapting, and trying to find ways to offer the biggest and the best at the lowest cost expense to you, and therefore for the customer. In 5 years' time, I would, or 3 years' time, I would like to have grown as a business in terms of number of my customers. I'd love to have at least 1 employee, so I can maybe take a little bit more time off for myself. But as I won't lie, as long as I can do it on my own, I will do it on my own. And as long as I can stay in the premises until I burst out, I will stay where I am. Because I think as a business owner, that's what you have to do. I'd like to be able to say, like, I know I will have more wedding business, because if I compare even now in year 3 to year 1, every year you get more business.
You're growing, and your reputation is growing. And I always believe, out of a wedding, you get a wedding.
Absolutely. I've had loads of customers coming to me saying, I was a bridesmaid, last year at a wedding you did. I'm getting married next year. I want you to do my flowers. So I know that the wedding business is going well. But
like your business, your 3 years, like your business is so new. I think you've done amazing.
Yeah.
You've done absolutely amazing as you say, for starting off in a pandemic, with so little shop experience. And as you say yourself, you've never ran a business before. I think you've done phenomenal. I think, like, round of applause. Well done, Claudia. You've done absolutely amazing. We're very proud of you.
Thank you. Well, so, I'd like it to be a little bit bigger in the corporate side as well. That's a tough market to break into. Corporate and funeral are probably the two areas that I'm focusing more on, I know, in the next 2 years for sure. And we'll take it from there. So I think the good thing to go for me is I know last year I said, okay, what is my focus point? And last year it was weddings, and I attended wedding fairs and stuff like that, and posted more wedding related material on my social media, and I can I reap the rewards for that now.
Yes.
So allowing yourself time to kind of implement your goals and trusting the process, as Jeanette always used to say, trust the process, and kind of know it will work and it will have an effect, and I can see it now. So I think my next goal will definitely be funeral and corporate work, and because that can run simultaneously, and hoping that I'll get a little bit stronger there. So that's it. Yeah.
Well, listen, Claudia, the best of luck, and roll on 3 years and we do this podcast again and see where you are then. But no, You've just blown me away. You've blown me away. You've done absolutely amazing, I think. And I think the fact that being sustainable is not always that easy. And I think you've done a great job. And you've given us some great tips and great ideas. And I actually think that's a podcast in itself that we might do in the future, is how to be a more sustainable florist and what you have found works for you and what. So if you're listening to this, comment and let us know. Is that something you'd like us to do a podcast on with Claudia, talking more about sustainability as a florist, and talking about on the ground how it's actually working for you?
Yeah, Claudia, that sounds great.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed this chat. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's lovely actually talking to you face to face, because I had only, besides your social media, I had only seen you online. So this is amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And thanks for giving me
most
this
welcome.
channel to talk as well.
No problem. Thanks a million.